In this episode, we're going to take a look at an action figure I never thought I would find in the wild. So, stick around. Okay, this is like the 25th time that I have tried to film this little intro. There's just so much I want to say about this toy that everything that I do say ends up gobbledygook, makes no sense, and ultimately frustrates me. So, wish me luck, and let's get to the episode. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. My name is Rob, and in this episode, we are going to take a look at a kind of recent action figure that I was very excited for, and one that I thought I would never be able to find out in the wild. Well, I found it at a very unique location, and let's just get it out of the way. The figure is the NECA Warduke figure from their new Dungeons & Dragons action figure line. Now, I got this figure at an anime convention. It was called Zenkai Con, and it was in Lancaster, PA, which is like a few hours from me. And I went there with all hopes of finding really awesome anime toys and DVDs or what have you. And unfortunately, all that stuff was crazy priced because that's, what the anime convention was catering to. Now, toys like this, I got this guy for market value, which is surprising at a convention. So, I was so happy to find them. They actually had Grimsword there as well, but I didn't have enough money to get both. So, I had to get my guy here. I mean, one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite action figures growing up, and I know that this figure is destined to be one of my more recent favorites. So, I've, been buying toys probably ever since I was old enough to walk. Not personally buying them, but coming in contact with them. When you're a kid, you get so super excited, but as you get older, that excitement kind of, goes away. When I saw this and put it in my hand, I actually had a slight shiver, a little bit of a shake. I felt an excitement that I have not felt in such a long time. And that alone is the price of admission. To feel that joy, that just happiness of finding something that you've been wanting, and like I said, in an unexpected place. So that just made it even more sweet. Anyway, enough of my crazy talk. And like I said, this is like the 25th time I've tried to film this, so I hope this one sticks. Anyway, let's take a look at the packaging and then jump into the figure itself. Okay, the artwork on this packaging is awesome. It's perfect. I mean, we have the D&D logo, Warduke Ultimate Action Figure. But what is super awesome is what is up in the corner. The original LJN figures had that little tag up in the corner of their original packaging. So that is an awesome callback to the 80s toy. I just love that. Now, here is the side of the package with an awesome picture of the figure. And, don't really have to say that much. That just is a perfect summary of what you're getting. The other side has the D&D logo, so front and center, Warduke with a little letterboxed picture down at the bottom of Warduke's head. Now the back of the packaging. We have 3 awesome pictures of Warduke in different poses. We have the Grimsword Evil Knight picture
down there, and like I said, I saw the figure. It was awesome. He's so super bulky and heavy, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough money for that because I bought a couple other things while I'm there. Maybe we'll talk about them in another episode. But anyway, the verbiage we have here says Warduke fights as a remorseless, cold-hearted mercenary who works for coin. The evil swordsman serves Kellic as a cohort and adventuring companion from time to time. He wields a flame-tongued longsword and wears a dread helm. He never removes his helmet to reveal his face to others, but the visage beneath is that of a grim, hideously scarred gladiator. So he's kind of like a Mandalorian. That's cool. So, now, as we know with NEC packaging, if we open the front, it has the figure itself. I don't know if I want to do that, because it might give away the surprises. So, let's save it and just jump in and take a look at the awesome figure. So, stick around. Okay, here is Warduke, and he looks awesome. There is so much great detail on this figure that we will look at together in a few moments. And I have all of his accessories laid out by his feet, but I couldn't get those all in the shot. So we will take a look at those a little bit more in depth. But he came with this cool background that really reminds me of that D&D fighting game that came out on the PS1 back in the day. That Ravenloft game, it really reminds me of that. And it's a pretty cool backdrop just to have laying around for pictures and whatnot. So, I mean, here we have his shield, which the detail on that shield compared to the original is 100-fold better. It is so awesome. So, let me take a look at these accessories, and then we will put all the gear on him and pose him and just, have an awesome time. So now let's jump over and take a look at the accessories he came with. Okay, and I just want to say I'm using different lighting in this episode, something new, so I'm still trying to get the hang of it because it's pretty big, so having a hard time getting those close-up shots that I like, but we'll see how this goes. Anyway, the accessories he comes with 3 different hands. He has 2 for his right side that don't have any armor, and 1 for his left side with the armored, gauntleted hand. He also comes with a flame effect for his longsword and 2 different daggers, which we'll take a look at the original figure, but those are kind of spoken for on the original figure, which is super awesome, albeit a little bit different, but it's just really cool, that attention to detail that they, put into this figure. So now that we took a look at that, we got a broad look at the figure. Let's have some fun. Let's put these accessories in his hands, pose them up, and let's go. Okay, here we go. Our first pose. Probably the easiest pose. He has a shield in one hand, his sword raised in the other. I went ahead and put his daggers in their sheaths, and we'll take a look at all of that stuff in more detail in a little bit when I compare it to the original figure. Anyway, I have 2 huge critiques right off the bat, putting it into a single pose. Firstly is the hands. You have to really manhandle the hands to put the weapon in and the shield. Now, I had to switch up the hands for one that was a little bit more open for the shield, because it loops through, or there's a loop of leather connected to the shield that you put up to his forearm, his elbow, and then a handle for his hand to hold on to. And it was really nerve-wracking to open his fingers for him to hold the shield. What I ended up doing was taking his hand off, putting it onto the handle, threading his handless arm through the leather strap and then putting the peg into the hole at his wrist. Sounds like it's easy, but it wasn't. So that kind of ticked me off. See, a lot of the Japanese figures I have, that are more of the medieval variety with swords and shields, the pommel of the sword comes off usually, that you can just put the handle down through the hand and then put the pommel back on. And the shields, the leather strap and the handle are both removable for the shields, that you can, more easily put them into the hands. Now, for some reason, once I started, trying to do it, I assumed that's how it should have been. But they're not. They're, not molded, but they are, attached to the shield very, sturdily. Is that even a word? And of course the pommel does not come off the sword. So that was kind of nerve-wracking because I didn't want to mess up the fingers right off the bat. My other critique is the fins on his helmet, and the whole helmet in general is made from very brittle, I guess you would say, blown plastic. And I was so scared that I was, while messing around with these hands, going to, position him on the ground and break one of the fins. I shouldn't say ground, on the table here. And of course, now my mind is running crazy with thoughts of, what if he falls while being displayed on the shelf and breaks the fins? I mean, they are the type that will, for lack of a better term, shatter. So it might be hard to glue them back together once they break. And let's just say I don't want that to happen at all. So those are my two biggest critiques from just doing one simple pose. So here's the simple pose, and let's go to another pose. And I'm actually kind of worried about removing any of the gear because I don't want to break the fingers. So let's see what I can come up with, and we'll do a quick comparison to the original and just get a little bit more of detailed view of the figure. So let's go to our second pose and see what we can come up with. For the second pose, I used the pointing finger, and I kind of have him pointing and holding his sword out like, you want some of this? Or have at thee? Or what have you. Now, the one thing that I wasn't able to show in the first pose because of having the sword held up high, it kind of took some of the, attention away from his legs. And I had him posed in a pretty good way with his, legs, like he was kind of lunging. So I'm impressed with that. He stood really well and held the pose really nicely. So props to that. And mind you, the joints and stuff feel great. They don't, have that normal NECA, stiffness to them. They are moving perfectly. The hands and stuff are, able to come off the wrists really nicely. So points for that. So here's our second pose. And I'm going to do one more quick pose, and then we're going to take a look at him in more detail. Okay, for our third and final pose, now I'm not getting very adventurous here, as I already explained my fears. I have him just holding a sword in front of him and holding a parrying dagger to the side. And as you can see by the legs, like I said, good posability. Now, it has somewhat of hampered movement because of his fur tabard. But what mobility it does have is pretty good. Sorry for the froggy voice. So all in all, I'm very impressed, and I'm going to be very stressed about displaying this piece until I can find a good stand for him, because like I said, I'm just afraid of breaking those fins. I mean, it's well detailed, and that's probably why they went that route. But yeah, it just seems to have a bit of frailty to it that I don't want to have to deal with, to be honest with you. But I love this figure. So let's take a look at him a little bit more up close and compare him to his original LJN action figure. Now, for our first comparison, we're just doing a simple side by side. And you can see that, I mean, other than size, they have a lot of similar attributes. Now, the one thing, first off, is, I'm going to use his sword as a pointer here. We have these awesome spikes here that were on the original figure. That's really nice. I love that they added these to the new figure. Now, his belt definitely has a, demon-esque skull on it with horns and everything. Now, this one, so much detail. And we can see here that there are actually like little, rivets or bumps to it that they had added here. So that's awesome. Great detailing. Have his necklace. Has little teeth off of it. A red amulet. Here we have red amulet and awesome molded teeth. And this is a separate piece. It's loose. For the most part. I think it might be attached to his belting system. But it is a separate molded piece. Also for his shoulder pauldron, which has spikes going up it here. Now, there are no real spikes here, but they did put some detailing of little bumps, which probably would be the spikes. Have the red outlining, same here. And we have the cross belts here, all the same here. And these are separate molded. They're not molded to the figure. They are separate pieces. Here we have red, fabric at the top of his belt. Here it's like a burgundy or a brown. So they went a different route with the colors. Now his, scale mail armor here, completely, this is molded in here the best that they could in the 80s. And here it just looks like beautiful detailing. Now, his boot here, I doubt you can see it on the camera, but it has little gems or bumps or whatever. Here, they added those, but they colored them red. So, great way to tie in some of those colors. Red gem here, red gem here, red eyes, red eyes. Great. Have the bicep band, but they also added a wristband here. Now, he does not have a second knife, which they added here, but hey, that's awesome. They also added this detailing of the fur that he does not have down on his thigh. Now, let's take a look here at a side view. One of the biggest differences here is this dagger. It's kind of like a curved blade, which, oddly enough, this scabbard fits the straight blade. So this is a lot different looking, but still within the same realm. And I did not point out, this is actually real, quote unquote, gold chain that keeps the scabbard. I mean, look, it's loose hanging there, so that is awesome. And we have this red pouch here, which they put here. Wonderfully detailed, by the way. Now, he has a scabbard on his back, which this original figure did not come with. And I apologize. I bought this I got this as a gift a few years ago to replace the one from my childhood that had been broken, because I had one that had the, action feature button on the back, and it kind of ended up breaking the whole figure. Now we're going to take a look at the back here. Ooh, is that a paint misstep? If so, I can live with it. But we see the detailing here on the belt. It is here. It's behind the sword. But look at this. Looks like the paintbrush messed up. I ain't hating it enough to take paint to it, so we'll just say it's mud that got thrown up on the back of his armor piece there. But, I mean, we have a gold ring here. Same ring here. Necklace. The detailing. Of course, they don't have the red here. But they added it here. But it's the same molding and markings. I mean, awesome. So, anyway, I think we can end it there. It almost looks like father and son walking off into the sunset of this graveyard, having just a fun old time, getting ready to hold hands and go get some cotton candy at the crypt or something, what have you. Anyway, I am super happy with this figure, all in all. I have a couple concerns, just like that. If this fell, there's a good chance it will break those fins. And I would be very sad and very disappointed. Eyes look great. Piercing out of there. Good detailing on the flesh bits. I mean, look, you can see the veins in his arms. And here is the second knife on his side. Very nice detailing on that. An added bonus. Not in the original figure. So, all in all, super happy that I have found him. And I can't wait to get a nice sturdy stand and have him displayed on the shelf. So anyway, we're going to send it back to me to wrap this episode up.
Okay, back to me. In summary, Warduke is definitely worth it. It's a great figure. It just hits all those great nostalgia feels of having the original, and I'm very happy to have him as part of my collection. Also, those two things that bug me are the only two things that I can critique this figure on, and those were just how fragile the helmet seems and my fear of breaking it, and just how the weapons, you really have to pry apart the fist to get some of the items in their hands. In his hands, I should say. Now, he comes with other hands, of course, but they suffer from the same issues. Now, the gauntleted hand is a little bit more open, but then the sword was very floppy in it. The other, ungloved hand seems like more of just a positioning of having it like this or a straight, kind of a holding something like this or like this. I know, I'm trying to explain it and I'm failing miserably, but maybe you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy that I was able to find him for the market value, so yeah, I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg to get him, which was one of my biggest fears, and another figure fell. See how easy it happens? That was a Fortnite figure, so it can fall all at once. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this, or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad, and stay dorky!